I'm Brittany.
And I'm Heather.
Welcome to Okayest Moms, the podcast.
A place to be more than just mom.
So our guest today is Tami Hackbarth. She is 100% guilt-free self-care coach. And I love the way she described herself today as the auntie who will tell you what you don't want to hear. It's true. We always go to her for everything. I know. She's so wise, and she always tells us exactly what we need to know. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with Tami. Get ready for the school year with Essential Calendar. Ready or not, the school year is just around the corner. Drop-offs, pickups, sports, lessons, activities, birthday parties. Oh, I'm tired just thinking about it. It's all coming back at once, and you're going to need a way to keep it all straight. Why not join the Essential Calendar Quarterly Calendar Club? You'll receive a new calendar automatically shipped to you every 3 months at a discounted subscription rate of 10% off. Each Essential Calendar allows you to see the entire season, all 3 months at a glance, making sure you don't overbook or underbook depending on how many extroverts you have in your family. To get 10% off your subscription to the Essential Calendar Quarterly Calendar Club, go to okayestmoms.com/essential. With the busy back-to-school season just around the corner, there has never been a better time to try HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get everything you need to get dinner on the table delivered directly to your door. You choose the meals on their weekly menu, how many servings you'd like it to be, and they do the rest. No more trips to the grocery store or endless hours of meal planning because you can do it all in one step with HelloFresh. And if your plans change, you can easily skip a week on their super user-friendly app. Okayest Moms listeners can get 18 meals free, which is 50% off your first 4 boxes, making the price per serving under $5. To get this deal, just click through the link in our show notes and complete your order. Hi, Tami. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. I'm always happy to come on and chat with you gals. How are you?
Oh, we're great. How are you?
Good. I am happy. No reliable childcare season called summer, everyone. I'm looking forward to going back to school.
Can't wait.
I know. Can't wait.
Can't freaking wait. We needed you to come back on because we actually got the idea for this episode when the 3 of us were doing a planning sesh at the beginning of the year. By the way, your jacket is still at my house. And I had been so proud of myself because in the first few months of the year, I scheduled my gynecology appointment, which is like 5 years overdue. I was actually going to get my hair done. I found a new doctor and was going, like, all these things that I hadn't done in 100 years. And we're like, that's an episode idea, and we need you to come on as a guest.
I'm here for it. I have to say, so for those of you that haven't met me yet, I'm your tough love favorite auntie who's going to tell you all the stuff that you're like, oh, God, okay. I'm a 100% guilt-free self-care coach. And in my group coaching program called Deferred Maintenance, one of the things that we do is we brainstorm, crowdsource, or like, what things on your medical to-do list are hanging out there? And we do it by age. So what do you need to do in your 30s? And then we make it a contest where we're like, okay, by next week, everybody needs to schedule blah, blah, blah. What do you need to do in your 40s? Okay, everybody needs, because, there's a lot of crossover. Like, you need to get your flu shot every year. You need to go to your dentist twice a year. And when you graduate in your 50s, a lot of people get to go 3 times a year. It's so great. Yeah.
Oh.
Sometimes
That just proves my theory that dentists are scam artists. So continue.
Yeah. I'll just let you know that your time with your healthcare professionals goes up as you age.
No.
And so I know it's crazy. It's crazy. But those tasks that we put off, that we kind of kick down the road, cause problems for us, right? I don't know about you, but I'm the queen of getting my stuff done on time. And I had an emergency dental thing a couple of weeks ago, and I was shocked at the pain I was having in my mouth, but I had just been there like 6 weeks before, and I had such dental pain. It turned out to be a sinus thing. Weird. It was pushing on my tooth roots. I'll just let you know now I've already had my allergist appointment. The point is this, friends, as we get older, our ability to kind of wing it goes way down.
Yeah.
Way down. As anybody that's crossed a threshold of 35 knows,
Well,
35 is not the new anything. 35
Well,
is 35.
I was gonna say, I love the idea of having like a list already because I feel like I've spent so much of my 30s just being like, because you never have to like pay attention. I never paid attention to anything happening in my body until I was pregnant. And then it was like, oh, maybe I should be a little more in tune with things. And I feel like I've spent the majority of my 30s still like trying to figure out this new body again. And it's like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to pay attention to things. Like, is this a thing? And then you're working in a healthcare system where pretty much nobody gives a shit. And so it's just like having to, like, is this a thing? Is this not a thing? How hard do I push on this? I don't know.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, so one of the ways that P.S., if you're in the United States, we are all in this together. I don't think it's our healthcare providers that don't give a shit. I think that's our healthcare system.
Absolutely.
That we can just pile that on the list of other systems in our country that needs an overhaul.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is not everyone has reliable health insurance and reliable healthcare. So we're like privileged to be even having this conversation. But I'm letting you know, friends, if you have it and you're not using it, you're doing it wrong. So if you have it, make a list of everything that your doctor recommends. Can you go on the internet and look at that up? Yes. Can you ask your doctor? Yes. But some things that you might need to be doing in your 30s, getting a skincare check. That way you have a baseline. I haven't done one either. Brittany just made another appointment. I haven't done one either. And I'm in my 50s. I'm like, God, I hope I don't have skin cancer. But trying to get in with the dermo, right? Making sure you're hitting those reproductive screenings. So I think the baseline for a mammogram got moved down again to 40. So I think it's
I've been told
that
if you ask, you can have one. It's one of those things where they're not really like advertising, but if you, and here's kind of like my like move to the front of the line pass. If you just say, I have a family history, I think, because that's what got me in with the dermatologist.
Totally.
And because if you have an HMO, they do not want to recommend you anywhere. I feel like they must get all the primaries together once a month and like stone them for each time they've referred them to a specialist because like they avoid it so bad.
Right. And then on the other hand, you're like, look, this is the long and short of it is that you have to be your own advocate because your doctor's office is never going to call you except your eye doctor. I don't know about you, but my eye doctor sends me a letter every year and is like, we've scheduled you an appointment. Go ahead and call us if this time doesn't work for you. And I show up at that damn appointment every year. Yeah. Hey, you guys, turns out we're supposed to be having our hearing checked every year. Had my hearing checked for the first time this year because, and I quote, why are you going to talk so loud, mama? Why are you always yelling? And I said, because you guys need to listen better. Oh, guess what, you guys? I went to the hearing doctor, told her what happened, had my hearing test, and she said, and I quote, your hearing's fine. Your family needs to listen better. The point is like there's all of these things, right?
Yeah, and now you have...
But we have to advocate for ourselves because here's another shocking revelation, all of our systems are related. I went to the dentist because I had a toothache, and it turns out that a dentist and a root canal specialist were like, yeah, dude, that's not a tooth thing. That's a sinus thing. And I was like, what? Had an x-ray. Turns out my sinus is sitting right on top of my tooth roots.
Oh, wow.
I know, gross, right? But it's like all of your stuff is connected. So like the dentist being a charlatan or whatever you said, a scam, but they can tell so much about your health with your teeth. My dentist was the one that had me get a sleep study because the way I was talking about not being able to wear my night guard and this and that, she's like, can you just go get a sleep study? Because I think you might have sleep apnea. And I was like, you're bonkers. She was correct.
I will say that I have had a similar experience like that when I have actually made it to the dentist. My mouth is very small and my teeth are very crowded, and I've never been to any dentist, any cleaning appointment without them saying, you need to get braces. And I've always said, fuck you, I'm not getting braces as an adult. It is what it is. I've lived this long. We're fine. And recently Isla needed to go to a consult and she panicked. So I was like, fine, I'll do this with you. And the orthodontist had walked in. She hadn't even been in the room 5 minutes. And she's like, yeah, we're not doing braces on you. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, the way your jaw clicks, she's like, you have TMJ. And she's like, do you have a lot of headaches? I'm like, yeah, like every day of my life. And she's like, yeah, we're not, if we adjust your jaw, it's going to make those worse. So she's like, you need to go to a TMJ specialist, which turns out there's literally 2 in this entire region. And thank God one of them was covered by mine. So I had to wait like 6 months, got a night guard, and have like, just the occasional headache now. Like it's really altered. And it got me out of $10,000 worth of orthodontia. So we're good.
Right, exactly. And so I know a lot of people, I mean, my group coaching program is literally called deferred maintenance. It's for people who like kick their own care down the road. But the thing is that we always think that we have time tomorrow, time next week. And our body, you have a lot of leeway when you're in your 20s and early 30s. It's like driving a Toyota. Like you don't really have to do anything to it. But like as you get older, you're like, when did I become a vintage Jaguar? Like, why? I'm sorry, did you say a special edition roadster of some sort?
We all become Volkswagens.
Like, I mean, Volkswagens, you could just swap out an engine. I am talking about like a rare BMW only made in Germany, like right side drive, where you're like, you just become a special, special creature as you get older. Because there's only so much.
On the other side of the coin, though, it does take, so that whole process with like the orthodontist and to my night guard, I mean, that whole process probably took a solid 6 months. So you really have to stick with it. And that's, I think, where a lot of women, especially mothers, fall off because it's very easy. I can't even tell you how many text messages I missed this week alone because I read it and got distracted between replying and like receiving it. So to keep up with a doctor and like get 2 doctors to talk and like do the whole thing. Like,
that's why I'm giggling at that. I'm like, it's not called answering texts in your head because I do that all day long. If you don't want to hear from me, it's because I answered you in my head.
Right.
And you just have to guess what I was thinking.
Exactly. So I think that's what happens to a lot of mothers is that like we start the process, but then, squirrel.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. And so one of the things that I did earlier this spring is I dove deep into fair play. And you're like, oh my God, what's fair play? It's all about the redistribution of domestic labor in your house. One of the ways that you create more time for yourself is you get the rest of your family on board to do their fair share of shit. And one of the cards in the fair play deck, and I'm pointing over there because it's right there, but I can't reach it. One of it is self-care. And the idea is everybody's like, what do I need to do this year? Like set a goal for the year. Write down every screening you need. Write down every test you need. Write down every checkup you need, every prevention. Do that because you wouldn't let your kids miss out because school won't let you in without them. But make a pact with a friend or your spouse or have a contest or get in a group coaching program where we'll do this for you. But in January, make all your appointments and try to get them done by the end of the year. And then set calendar reminders in your Google Calendar for the next year to do the same thing. Also, try to schedule your next appointment with your provider before you leave your appointment, or even better, schedule all your appointments for the year so they're the one reminding you rather than you reminding them.
I like that. And I do appreciate that about a dentist that they will make you schedule. And they're always like, what day is good for you? I'm like, bitch, I don't know.
Never.
6 months from now.
It's never good for me. I have a dental phobia. When do I want to take some Xanax to come and see you again? I don't know. Tell me when I should come in so I can make sure I have medication to go.
But yeah, then at least it gets on your radar. And then 6 months from then, if you need to, when you have a better idea what your schedule is, then at least, because guess what? Let me tell you a little story about a girl who needed to change their dentist and then waited and waited and waited. And now it's been me and the kids have all missed at least one cleaning.
And now I just called to make an appointment. They're booking in January right now.
Oh,
And so
That sucks. But the good news is that, God, I love a fresh start. And then you do January and June. Whoo, girl, you're in.
yes.
And then you
that-
have all
that would be
year,
the ideal. Yeah.
right?
That's
Then you have
that's the
all
right
year
dentist
to use your
time.
benefits, right?
Mhm.
So, but this idea of fair play, if other people in your family are saying taking care of the laundry, well, that takes a bunch of hours off of your schedule. If somebody's actually taking care of the dishes or family meals or childcare, or here's one, are you ready? I have my husband do her medical appointments. Why? Because he is her father. I have a dental phobia. The last thing I want to do is go to yet another dentist appointment. I have not taken my child to the dentist one time. She is 12 years old. Like
That's a
I
good one.
picked her up at the dentist once and I walked in. I was like, God, why do all these offices smell exactly the same? And people that don't have a dental thing are like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, you're on the other team, right? And he takes her to her doctor's appointments. I have him be in charge of picking up her medication because everybody loves the ADHD medication dance every month.
oh my
Where you're
God.
like, got to email the doctor, got to talk to the pharmacy, got to show up. Don't be too early. Don't be too late. I'm like,
We're out of
I'm tired of this
prescription
game.
weed. We only have 10 milligrams.
Or we only have 7. Do you want this? Well, are you going to start my prescription over? Or am I going to be
pills? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea is if my spouse is taking care of my child's appointments, because he is in fact her legal guardian as well, then guess who has a whole bunch more time to take care of her appointments? That would be me.
And I think the dentist is a good barrier to entry because there's not a ton of decisions that have to be made. I could see a father, a spouse who's less involved balking at the doctor because there's a lot of information to relay back and forth. But the dentist, I think, is a pretty low barrier that, it's literally, for the most part, you just take them. The dentist says their thing. They try and upsell you for $7,000 sealants and fluoride, and we move on with our lives. And I did pass that card off for a while, but then the scheduling became the problem. And it's like, well, if I'm the one taking them to the appointment, then I'm just going to make the appointment because I need to, if I'm doing it, I have to pick a time that I can do.
Well, so you don't want to split the card. And people their minds just went, what are you talking about splitting the card? So in fair play, the idea is there's conception, there's planning, and there's execution. The conception and the planning part is the thought process part. It's the, when does it fit in the schedule? What do I have to bring with them? What card do I have to have? Where do I even take them? What's the schedule? Do we have to lie to them about flossing? Do I have a night card for this kid? I'm like, whatever the thing is, like all the things that make everyone tired happens before you actually take them to the dentist. So when I
Right.
say that my husband is in charge of her teeth, that means that fool is dragging her out of bed to floss her teeth because I'm like, whatever happens with those, that's on you.
Right. Yes.
Because
That is
I have my own
idea.
tooth issues. That right, but isn't that something that we can hope for, that we can dream for, is to have a capable spouse to do that. So there's that one thing, but really digging in and being like, okay, what is your why? Why should we do this? Brittany, what's your why about going to the dentist? And apparently both of us are now going to like try to get it with a dermo for a developer check. Heather's like, I got that on speed dial. Like, what's your why?
For going to the dentist? Well, I just don't.
No, just for these maintenance things. These like, no one wants to use their health insurance. It sucks. It's not sexy.
Exactly. I know.
The lighting's bad. The parking's bad.
Smell, paper gowns.
Paper gowns. I had to wear the shorts the other day. I picture this, just the shorts, topless, because I wore a dress to my mammogram. Don't do that. Yeah, it was, everyone just went, don't wear a dress to a mammogram. But anyway, so what's your why behind this stuff being important to you?
I think like a lot of at least millennial mothers are just trying to do better than what their Gen X and boomer parents did. And I think that's what it is. Like my mom never went to she never went to the doctor. She never took care of herself. Self-care wasn't a thing. And also, like to be healthy for your kids and be a good example in that way. But it's hard. It's really hard.
It is hard, but that's why I'm like, part of it is it's the peer pressure of like, well, I did my thing. Well, I did my thing. You guys should have seen me last year getting all my 50-year-old clients to get shingle shots. That shot is there's 2 of them. And the reaction is the full blown
I've heard
like, flu
it's not good.
weekend. Like I was like, oh shit, I think I'm dying twice. And everyone over 50 did it by the end of last year, because it was just like, it's who you're hanging out with. This is what we do in this group. We follow through. We do the fucking unsexy thing. What about you, Heather? Why is this important to you to get this bullshit maintenance taken care of?
Because I feel like crap almost every day when I wake up, and I'm tired of feeling like crap. And see, that's where my why doesn't matter anymore, is because I go to the doctor and then they're unhelpful, and that's where I lose steam. So, I mean, yeah, that's the why, is to feel better, to feel like I know whose body I'm in, because I feel trapped in someone else's body right now.
Okay. And that is legit, right? Where you're like, but I'm doing all the things and I still kind of feel like crap.
Yeah.
Yes. I have a t-shirt. Are you ready for this? It says, I could actually feel worse.
Right.
Right. No, but the idea is like, what if you didn't go to the doctor and felt terrible? You would have that like sinking feeling of like, maybe it's the secret pill that they have, or maybe it's if I actually went to the XYZ medical professional, they would give me like this simple answer.
Yeah.
Then I would be fine. Right. So at least you have the peace of mind of being like, I went to these people and it turns out they are people. A couple of years ago, I went to my primary care physician, whom I adore, could not love her more. And I went because I had something, it's called a cough, couldn't get rid of it. I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. And the only reason I go to my doctor is because I have exhausted all things on my own. So I'm going to need your prescription pad. That's what I'm going to need. I'm going to need some medicine from you. I go in, I'm hacking up a lung. And I say, hey, what do you think this is? And she said, it could be this, or it could be this, or it could be this. And I had this light bulb moment where I said, oh my God, you're just guessing. And she said, well, educated guessing, but yes. Well, educated guessing because
Right.
I said, why do you think it's that? And then we both got quiet for a second. And I heard the exact same sounding cough that I had come from several other rooms. And I was like, oh, is it because she's like, yeah, they all come to me. So this medicine helped all of these people. So it will probably help all of these.
So we're just all guinea pigs.
Kinda. Well, I mean, but it's this thing where it's like, there are variables, right? And the variable is, you know yourself best. So you're working in consultation with a health team. You're actually the head of the team. And so you're like, what can you do for me? 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 Okay, I'm going to take all of those under advisement. I'm going to do them stuff. But there's no replacement for sleep, everybody's least favorite topic.
Sleep.
Sleep. It's the underrated foundation of your life. Sleep, exercise. What's the question? It doesn't matter because the answer is exercise, hydration, meditation, saying no, i.e. having boundaries, like all that bullshit that is all PS. What do we do in deferred maintenance? All of that. We practice those things because true health and wellness can't be given. It's weird. It kind of has to be fought for. And it's interesting because I'm coming off a season of really intense illness. I got the norovirus for the very first time in my life. 100 negative stars. Like, do not recommend. I now understand why everybody's like, holy shit, vomiting. And I'm like, what? Now I get it. And I had the worst cold I've ever had since like my first year of teaching. And then as you guys know, I hurt my foot and ended up in a boot.
Sorry, it's not funny.
It's hilarious because of the wackiness that ensued was I messed up my hip
Oh.
and my shoulder
Right. It sets everything
hobbling
off.
around in the boot.
Mhm.
And so I'm doing PT, but I've been in kind of constant pain for like 3 months. And I've been to the doctor. I have been to the PT. I have been to all these things. And what it comes down to is I have to do all of this daily care to not feel my best. But then I get to wear my, oh shit, I could feel so much worse t-shirt. Shit. It's that sucky part.
That's
like,
where
I
we
put
all
all
fall
this
off.
effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
those,
where we all fall off, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Those 5 things too, sleep, exercise, whatever you listed off. It's like, I can be good at like 2 of those things at once. It's just like getting to the holy trinity, or what's the word for 5? Trinity, whatever. Of those
It's the
5.
Trinity, but for 5. Yeah.
But for
I don't know.
5.
Is it?
Right.
Yeah. I'm like,
Getting
no.
that place
Until
is hard.
me.
Right.
Absolutely. It is hard. But again, why it works when you're doing it with other people is because you're changing the culture of what is expected, of what is normal behavior. So, there's that saying that you become a sum of the 5 people you hang out with most.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you change your company, you change the company that you keep, you actually change how you behave. So that's why spouses, if one spouse decides they're going to start taking a walk after dinner, eventually they're either going to get divorced or they're going to start walking. I mean, it comes down to this. It's like you're either having those, it's a culture shift.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's also, it sucks. So I have a bunch of things that I think that human design flaws, like I think at 40, you should get a new set of eyeballs because they don't work anymore. At 40, you should get a new set of teeth because it's completely ridiculous that I'm hauling these teeth around that I got in 2nd grade. Y'all, I was 8 when I got these fucking teeth. And there was a long time where perhaps dental hygiene was not my number 1 priority. But wouldn't it be awesome as if when we were kids, we had to work really fucking hard at feeling good so that we could build
Seriously.
lifelong habits.
Yes.
And then when you were in your 70s, it was like you were a teenager and you could just do whatever the fuck you wanted and nothing would fall apart. Right? So if I were to be in charge of a universe, those might be my first 3 things: new eyes, new teeth, and aging backwards.
Well, because that's the problem, right? Is we're learning how to do all these things, manage these things, while we're also teaching small children to manage just like anything. But can we also talk about how, like, I'm just going to talk about a heterosexual couple because that's my background.
Because that's what you have.
But-
yes.
Right. But it's always the woman who's having to take on these shifts and push their partners to take care of themselves. And it's exhausting to be the emotional pulse of everybody in the house and be like, this is what we all need to do. And then, of course, the kids are going to fight about it. But then I also have to like convince a grown man that this is what he needs also. And it's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
Because I'm already trying to do it for myself.
Okay, so you know what's funny is, so I am a fair play facilitator. So I have monthly calls with our team. Eve Rodsky was on our last call. She's the creator of the whole system. Somebody asked that very thing. They said, when you're working with a female client, how do you help get spouses on board? Y'all, I was like, did I say something? Did I not? And I said, can I be really honest and direct? And they said, oh my God, yes. And I was like, okay, so first I do this route. I say, or have my clients say, did you ever hear of the guy who says after his wife leaves, God, she just up and left? Did you ever hear that story? And everybody laughed. And I was like, so then you say to the guy, you should ask the mail carrier why she left, because the mail carrier knows, because that woman has been telling people for a fucking decade, all the ways that her family needs to get their shit together. So there's that. So I don't typically go and say, you know what you should do is you should talk to your spouse about this. I usually go in the easier doorway. Call it the dog door. I crawl through the dog door and I say, oh, you have a second grader at your house? Do fair play with your second grader. Because you know what a second grader wants to do? Be a fucking grown up. So you're like, great. You're going to be in charge of this. This is how we're going to do this. Da, da, da. Your second grader is going to go to the playground and be like, I'm in charge of my mom's physical therapy. I get to boss her around every night. I'm in charge of laundry. I have to do blah, blah, blah. Or I get to do this. Like Ruby was captain of team Keep It Clean. She was captain of Mama's PT squad. I did not miss a single day of PT during the pandemic because every night my daughter was like, it's time to do PT, Mama. And I was like, I don't want to. She's like, I don't care. I'm the captain. So if you want, so just let your children be in charge and boss you around. And suddenly you're going to be like, well, the dishes are getting done because the dish czar has taken over. And no grown person wants to be put to shame by a second grader. Right? This weaponized incompetence of like, oh, you're so much better at it than I am. It's like, well, bully. That was a combination of Billy and Sully, you know. Sully over here, he's like, Dad, I washed the dishes all myself. I put them away. I made breakfast. I'm in charge of meals for this. So it can be done, but I have to tell you, I feel like kids are more malleable than adults in the beginning.
Well, I hear you, and I absolutely think kids should be doing some of these things. But who gets to teach them? Who gets to be the person who pushes them to actually do it once the novelty wears off?
It's you. It's you. And here's why.
Live
but
through them doing it shitty.
Right. Yes. Okay, but you know who else does
good.
it shitty when they start? Everyone. It doesn't matter age.
Well, I know.
Everyone sucks. So this is what I'm going to say. So you either put it in the work to feel like shit and do it all yourself, or you put it in the work to feel less like shit along the way, and then you raise good roommates.
You know.
I'm sorry, but my kid is going to be the best roommate because she's been practicing. Yeah, I'm like, the thing is, I want her to be so well trained as a roommate that she's actually a good roommate to me before she moves out.
Yeah. I love that.
And is it a pain? Yes. Are kids death by 1,000 paper cuts? Maybe if I do it terribly forever, she won't make me do it. Yes. But you know what? Every time somebody in my house, spouse, child, me, does something poorly, I say, just like I used to say to my class, oh man, it looks like you need more practice with that. And legit, every time people go, oh God, it's like, I know, you forgot where you were. Because when you do things poorly, that means you get to do them again. I'm here to support your growth. Here to support your growth. Because it is a long-term strategy.
Yeah.
Long-term strategy. My daughter literally said to me this morning when I said, your chores have to be done before we leave for school, or you get more chores when you get home. And she said, that's just because you don't want to do anything around here. And I was like, that is correct. 100%. Had a student look me in the face. You're the laziest grown-up I've ever met. Congratulations. I will take that and wear that while I'm sitting down. Yeah. And you're doing everything in the classroom. It's like, kid, I'm glad you feel so confident that you're like Mrs. Big Pants. Like, I can talk back to a grown-up. Great. I'm going to be over here not doing the things that you're capable of doing poorly for a very long time. But I will hold space for you while you practice them. Because I don't want to build myself a golden cage where only I can be the person who's doing things. I want to have time to shine in other areas. I don't want a PhD in dishwashing. I don't want a graduate degree in laundry. I just don't. I want to have time to read and hang out with my friends and write books and coach people and speak and travel. And, you know, basically I want to do whatever the hell I want, but I can't do that if I have to do all the dishes and have to do all the stupid kid dentist appointments. No, thank you. Someone else has to be in charge of this.
For sure. And I think one easy thing that someone could start today, stop making your spouse's appointments if you are doing that. They are fully capable of doing that. And if they don't make them, then oh well.
Did you see this face? It would no sooner. Somebody said the other day that they packed their spouse for vacation. I was like, do you have sex with these men who don't do anything?
Yeah.
Stop doing things for your kids that they can do themselves. Stop doing things for your spouses that they can do themselves. If you have low expectations, they're going to meet them every time.
Yeah, and low expectations aren't a bad thing.
Right. But
in this regard, like,
but if our expectation is that you just pack your own suitcase, like, well, that's like a whole other thing. Like, just pack
That's a whole other episode, I was going to say.
Well, okay, and P.S. invite me on, but it's the same exact thing, right? Which is, it comes back to fair play, conception, planning, execution. Execution is the pay somebody $10 an hour job, where you're just like, here's a list, check, 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 check. But that means somebody went in and did the thinking about it and did the planning. It's like somebody saying, oh, I need help with the housework. Okay, P.S. you don't live there alone. So you don't need help. The house needs to be cleaned is the issue. Nobody needs help. It's the house is dirty. Who's going to clean it? And if somebody's like, oh, we'll just hire a house cleaner. Well, yeah, I would love to, except I have 45 other things that I'm conceptualizing and planning for. It's not just executing. I can't just call someone. Again, I did a secret move this time. After COVID, my husband's like, we need a house cleaner, to which I said, great, you're in charge of it this time, because I have been in charge for every other time we've hired a house cleaner. And he got a name of somebody and he said, okay, and she only speaks Spanish. And I was like, terrific. The good news is that so you also speak Spanish. I have literally said hello to this woman as I'm walking out the door. She's lovely. I would like to marry her because she has cleaned our house better than it's ever been cleaned before. But legit, there is zero communication between us. I hand her an envelope as I walk out the door. And my husband will be like, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's between the two of you.
That's none of my business.
That's none of my business. I am vacating the house for 10 hours while she's here cleaning. Goodbye.
And I think that's a testament to you and your communication, because it really is like a long letting go, especially if you've always done everything. It's a long process to get to that point. And I'm starting to be more aware and cognizant of it, of all the little things that I do to make his life so much easier, like everybody's life, truthfully. And it's kind of just been like my summer preparing them for mom not being here to be your personal secretary when school starts. And it's just like simple little things. It's ruffled a lot of feathers, but we were packing for a trip, speaking of, and AJ asked me what the weather was. With phone in hand, I had just looked at the weather. I knew the answer, but it was like hot one day, cold the next, like might rain. So I was like, you need to make this own decision of what you're packing on based on this unsettled weather. And I was like, I check it yourself. It is right there in it. And he kind of, well, you just look. Can't you just tell me? It's like, I could spend 15 minutes giving you a fucking meteorology report, or you could just look yourself and make these decisions of what you want to pack. And it was a whole thing, but it was like little things like that I'm doing that, yes, I'm doing it for myself, but I'm doing it for myself. I'm not doing it for you, because guess what? I already did it for the kids too. So like, could you just do this?
I have to say, I will help a child. I would have said, children, we have 3 unsettled days, 2 hot days, pack accordingly. I will check at the end. Look at your body and all the pieces of your body you need to cover while you're gone. Don't forget pajamas and your toothbrush. And then I will check.
Yeah.
And my kid's been packing her own shit since she's like 4. Why?
Same.
Because you know who wants to do shit? Toddlers. They can't help themselves. Heather, my daughter's hair, I need therapy for my daughter's hair. It's it's a thing. I mean, there is always yelling. There is always threats of cutting it all off. There is, it's this thing. My husband's like, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for doing this. And he goes, I need to take a card that is this labor intensive. And I was like, terrific.
You do.
And he goes, or I want to take the hair card from you. And I said, absolutely not. I said, no, because you're going to want me to teach you and coach you through the thing that I have figured out over the last 12 years.
Yeah. Right.
Institutional knowledge will be going forth for me for the next 6 years. I said, I need you to go in the deck and find something as terrible as this and just take care of it. Send me a little note, text me and say, I took care of X. I'll be like, that's great. I was like, I hate this, but I know how you're going to be like, it's hard. I'm aware. I know. It's hard.
Correct.
It's terrible.
It's all hard.
It's all hard. This one is particularly hard. I invite anyone to come brush this tender-headed kid's hair.
You do have a wet brush, right?
Heather, I have literally spent hundreds of dollars on. I have every detangling situation. I've got the scarves. I've got the pillowcases. What I have is a curly-haired ADHD sensory person who, when you move one of her hairs, shouts out.
And it really
I can light the rest of her on fire, but it's the hair that sends her over.
No, I know.
Yeah, I'm sure you know.
The washing of the hair.
Oh, that's a...
Oh, God.
For those of you that don't have neurodivergent children, enjoy your bath time. Because around here, it is like gasoline.
Where you make your appointments. This is your pocket of time.
Yeah. Wear earplugs and use your thumbs to do it.
Well, Tami, it's been so lovely, as always, to have you on. I'm sure you'll be back. But in the meantime, can you let our listeners know where they can find you?
Yes. You can find me on Threads at Tami Hackbarth. You can find me on Instagram at Tami Hackbarth. You can find me cleverly at my website at tamihackbarth.com. And if I could, in September, I'm doing a free Fair Play 101 workshop. So if you're interested and you're like, what the hell is fair play? How does this help me? How did you get your spouse to do all this stuff? How are your clients happily doing these things? Join my Fair Play interest list. You can find it on my website or in my bio on any of the socials, because we're going to talk about how this isn't a personal problem. I need everyone to know that this is not a you problem. This is a system problem. It starts with the individual. It goes to family, community, but we need policy changes for social safety nets. So if you're feeling terrible, that you're like, I can't do this. It's like, no shit, none of us can do it. I am just like beating a new path to making this happen. And we're creating new community and new culture around how things are handled at home so that we can all have the time and energy to go change the policies.
Yes, love it. Highly recommend. Fair Play reached AJ's brain like nothing else ever has.
Fair Play is amazing. Another one for people who struggle with the perfectionism piece is called Drop the Ball by Tiffany Dofu. Holy moly. If you feel like you need a little humor about your domestic labor issues, How Not to Hate Your Husband After Kids is a perennial favorite. Yeah. And then Unicorn Space, also by Eve Rodsky, is the whole point of this. The idea that you're spreading the domestic labor out amongst the people in your family isn't so that you are less burdened with this, all, as we like to call all the quote good jobs in our house. It's so that you can create this life that you were meant to live, that you were born to live.
Exactly. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Tami. I'm going to go make some
guys.
doctor's appointments now.
If you like what you just heard, and we hope you do, you can find more of us online at www.okayestmoms.com. We're also on all social media platforms, Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Okayest Moms Blog. Or if you want to, you can send us an email at hey@okayestmoms.com.